Hello everyone and welcome back. We are back to our sit down videos, and this usually means I'm here to talk about something that I feel like you guys would like to hear and some tips. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background. She's a little snarfy bulldog and I'm the only one here right now, so I have to watch her. But welcome back. Today's video is actually going to be about picking a college major, which I think is pretty relevant right now. It is the end of July, which means college is starting for some people in August, and I know it's going to look a little different this year, but I think this still applies because when you go to college, usually you need to pick a major because that is what you're studying. So I thought this would be helpful. I did a college advice video not too long ago, and I can put that up here and then also link it down below. And that video I think would be really helpful for incoming freshmen. It gives a lot of advice just on college in general, things I wish I would have known, and I think it'd be really helpful, so go and check that out if you haven't. But this video is just kind of going to be about picking a major in the process. I'm going to give some tips about it, give you guys my story, my rundown on it, so make sure you guys stay tuned and let's get into the video. Alright, so picking a college major. Now I feel like a lot of people, this is like stress going into college. Now don't get me wrong, some people know exactly what they want to do, and you know what, props to them. I was not that person. I was in between few things, and then when I was in high school I had a couple different interests and I thought I knew what I was going to major in, but I did not. So I feel like if you are stressed and if you don't know, that is perfectly normal. I really didn't know. I had friends that didn't know, friends that did know. So it's just different for everybody. Some people know what they want to do from the minute they can cognitively think about what they want to do for the rest of their life. But for me, I always switched around between things. I always had different interests, and a lot of my interests revolved around like one or two big likes, but for the most part I wasn't very sure about what I wanted to do. So I think that, you know, number one thing is don't feel stressed if you don't know what you want to do. Don't feel like you're the only person in the world, because I promise you you're not. So when I went into college, I originally thought I was going to do nursing. Out of high school I was like, you know, nursing would be fun. I think I would like nursing. Honestly, not knowing anything about really nursing. So I considered nursing and I was like, yeah, you know, I think I might do that. I went to my advising appointment at my orientation and they told me, they were like, is there something you're interested in for your major? What is something you like to do? And I told them, I was like, you know, I'm kind of interested in nursing. And they were like, well, do you like science? And I was like, it's all right. And they're like, you know, you have to like science to be a nurse. And I was like, I know, I think I could do it. And then my mom was like, you know, why don't you just wait on that and just right now be undecided? And I was like, I don't want to be undecided. I'm gonna be the only person that's undecided out of all my friends, all of this stuff. And my mom was like, no, you just want to wait. You don't want to decide on anything. And my advisor was saying the same thing. He was like, why don't you just wait until you really know that you're really gonna love what you're studying? So I was like, okay. So my whole entire freshman year I was undecided, and I, you know, realized quickly I was not the only undecided person. There are a lot of undecided people going into college, so don't stress about that. But I figured I didn't want to be that person that chose a major and then switched it 2,000 times and then had to, you know, classes didn't count or I took classes for no reason. I just didn't want to be that person. There are people like that, and you know, props to you for trying things and figuring out what you would like to do. But I just really wanted to, once I chose a major, to stick with it and to take those classes that I needed and to not stress or worry about the other classes that I may or may not have taken. My whole freshman year I was undecided, and that whole freshman year I kind of dabbled in different things. I looked around about what I think I would be most interested in. I think I considered journalism at one point, and I definitely thought to myself, you know, something in communications. I didn't want to be a broad communications major. I feel like that was too broad for me, but I was like, I feel like for me, myself, communications would be the best route, because I'm not very scientifically, mathematically brained. I'm very like more in the creative side, English writing, things like that. So I thought to myself, why not something in communications? So I looked around, thought about journalism for a while, and then I kind of shoved that to the side. I didn't think it was the right thing for me. And they had entertainment and media studies, and I considered that one for a while, but then I still thought, you know, I don't know job wise, I just don't know if I would really enjoy that. And so I looked around more, and then I came across public relations, and I had no clue what PR was. I had no clue what public public relations was. But I talked to my mom about it and my advisor, and they were like, yeah, my mom was like, I definitely think you would like that a lot. And so I was like, okay. So I did research on it, which that's another tip I suggest. Do research on your major and what you would like to do. But I did a lot of research on what I wanted to do, and I did a lot of research on public relations, and I said to myself, okay, I think I'm gonna do PR. I really like what it's saying. It's a little bit like advertising, a little mix of all of that stuff. And I was like, you know, I feel like I would enjoy this content. I would enjoy what I'm learning about, because that was one of the big things for me, is I wanted to enjoy what I was learning about. I didn't want to sit through a class and have to just sit there and count the minutes until it was done. I wanted to enjoy what I was learning. And so I decided on PR, and I think I decided that the end of my freshman year going into my sophomore year. Well, as you may or may not know, when you first go into college, you have to take gen ed classes. So that your first 2 years is usually just gen ed, getting those course hours and getting kind of the basics under before you get into your major classes. I'm going to be in my senior year of college, so I'll be a senior in August, and this is like my end year, and all of my classes have to do with my major, which is nice. I have to take a few electives. Other than that, it's mainly my major classes. So first 2 years you just kind of take gen ed. You may take a few of your major classes or intro to your major classes, and for me, I had to take a test to get into my major. Some people do, some people don't. I had to take one, but I learned quickly that I enjoyed PR, and I enjoyed what I was learning and all the communications aspects of that. So that's how I chose my major. I just kind of did my research, and I waited to make sure it was something that I knew I would really enjoy, something that I wouldn't like regret doing, and I really just wanted to make sure that once I took those classes, I wasn't wasting my time taking them in classes that I didn't enjoy or didn't like. So I ended up going with PR because I thought, you know, that would be the best for me. If you don't know what PR is, it's kind of like a company's image, or some people are PR for celebrities and things like that. It's kind of the person or the company, whatever it may be, that keeps the brand's reputation at a good level, and it keeps it, you know, any scandals, things like that, they kind of handle those things. The relationship kind of between the public and like a company, or the public and a famous person or celebrity or whoever it may be. So that's kind of PR. And for me, I've always been the type of person that said I never wanted to work a 9 to 5. I never wanted to work in an office and be sitting there counting down the hours until I can go home. I wanted, and I think some people are like that, some people aren't, you know, to each their own, you do you. But for me, that was just how I was. I never really thought I would be one to want to sit in an office all day long. And with PR, of course, there are PR firms and things like that, but I always thought to myself, I'd like to be PR for a company that I really love, or I'd even enjoy being PR for, you know, a celebrity or something like that. Like, I always mention those things just because I think I would enjoy that aspect. And so that's where I came. That was my kind of headspace, is like I had to think about the jobs that PR would give me and the things that I can do while doing PR. So I had to consider that stuff. Also, while choosing my major, like, what would I be doing in that field, and why do I really want to do this? That's my career is a whole nother story, which I can get into, but basically I really just thought to myself, you know, I think I would enjoy this field of study. I enjoy advertising, and Kennesaw doesn't offer advertising, they just offer public relations, but I enjoyed public relations overall, so that's how I decided that. I'm gonna give you a little rundown about like my career choice and how I decided that. So most of you guys may know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, if you listen to our podcast, that I want to be a flight attendant when I graduate. That's kind of been my goal for a while. Ever since I was in high school, I always thought, you know, that's kind of a dream job, to be able to travel for free and, you know, have that be your job. I always thought that was cool, and I always liked the aspect of that. So I decided from, you know, high school on that, you know, flight attendant would be really cool. And so that's kind of my plan. I don't want to hear the you're wasting school, or you're wasting this money and that money to go to school. I wanted to get my college education always. I always wanted to get my bachelor's degree. You know, I always wanted to go to college. And so I take it as an experience that I'm glad I had. And I always need a plan B, and if flight attendant doesn't work out, I have my degree in public relations, and I would hopefully be able to get some sort of job within that field, because obviously I enjoy learning about it, and I enjoy PR and advertising in general. So I have that to always fall back on if I ever, you know, flight attendant doesn't work out. But that's kind of like my little career choice, but I still love learning about PR, and I think it's good for me to have under my belt in case I ever need it to fall back on, or in case, you know, things don't work out. It's something that I still enjoy. So that was like my kind of little story about choosing my major and how I did it. But I kind of want to go in and give you guys a few tips about when you guys choose yours and going about the whole process. I want to give you guys some tips on that. So the first one I want to give is to make sure that you are choosing this major that you really enjoy doing. And I don't want that to sound cliche or anything, but it's honest and it's true. Like, you don't want to go into a field that you literally despise for the rest of your life. Like, this could be something possibly that you are doing for the rest of your life as a career, and you don't want to go into something that you dread every day, because that just makes your life unhappy in general. Like, if you're not happy doing what you're doing, then what's the point of it? So I think that you need to study something that you thoroughly enjoy, that you want to learn about, you're eager to learn about. And I don't think you should just settle for anything just because they may pay well and stuff, which that is a good aspect to have in mind, is to make sure, you know, you're thinking about all of those other things as well, like financially and locations and things like that. But I think that you should always keep in mind that I think it's good for your headspace to be enjoying what you're doing and loving what you're doing. So I say keep that in mind. Another thing for me is that before you choose a major, you should do a lot of research on that major. I did a lot on PR. I didn't really even know what PR, public relations, really meant, and so I had to do a lot of research on that, kind of looked into the job fields, the things that they did, and I did a bunch of research, just making sure that this is something I actually want to study before I write it down and settle in that major. So make sure you do your research on the field that you're going into. I think it's important because it gives you the rundown on everything that you honestly could be studying for the rest of college and then further on into your career. So keep that in mind. Another thing is to make sure that you talk to people about it. That's what kind of academic advisors are there for. College has a lot of people you can talk to, as well as your parents or friends or people you may know that have been in that field or that studied it. I highly recommend talking to those people because they can really give you some advice. And you know, when it's in person and you get that conversation from them and you get the advice from them, I think it's really helpful because it's easier to relate to them and they're able to give you good or bad advice, whatever it may be. So I highly recommend talking to people, talking it through, really making sure that it's something that you think you'll enjoy. I also want to say, don't rush into choosing it. I kind of mentioned this in the beginning of the video. Don't rush into it. If you know you think you have to have a major right when you go into college, don't do something just because you think you have to have that. You have plenty of time before you have to choose a major. You really do. And I think you should really explore your options. I think you should look around, see your likes, your dislikes, what you think you would really love before you actually decide on a major, because I think it's really important, because that's your career. That could be something you are doing for the rest of your life, and you want to make sure that you really enjoy it. That's a big thing for me, is I just really want to enjoy what I'm doing and enjoy my major. That's kind of like my little bit of tips about just choosing a major. I know it can be stressful, and when we're 17 and 18, I think it's insane that some of us, you know, are expected to have something that we want to do for the rest of our lives when we're that young. So I think that you're fine if you don't know what you want to do, if you're undecided, and if you know what you want to do, all the power to you. That's great. But make sure you're passionate about it. You know, there are so many options in college, so many things that I didn't even know existed as a career. So there are so many options out there, and talk to people, look them up, make sure you really know that you will succeed in that area and that it's something you enjoy, and that, you know, you're not going to regret it in 10 years or 5 years when you graduate college and then you realize, crap, this is the career I have for the rest of my life. Take your time. You don't have to have it all figured out right away, and really just do your research and look at your options. I think that's super important, and you will find out what you want to do. You want to make sure that's the right thing for you. So I think that's really all that I had to say about choosing my major. My process wasn't too hard. I just kind of wanted to make it known and make it relatable that I didn't know what I wanted to do either, and that's okay. You have time to figure it all out, so don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. I just wanted to make that known and get that across. That's all I really have to say. Good luck choosing your majors, and good luck going into college if you are going into it, however old you may be. If you are an incoming freshman, whatever it is, transferring, good luck. Check out my college advice video because it really gives good advice on if you're going into college and things I wish I would have known. I really hope this information in this video was helpful, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed. I want to remind you guys, of course, to focus on the good, to know that good comes out of almost everything if you really think about it and if you really believe in it. Focus on the good, be kind to yourself and be kind to others because you deserve it, and I want you guys to remember that because sometimes it's hard, especially right now in this world. Being kind always wins, so make sure you try your best to remember that. And I thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel, or coming if you're new watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. It would mean a lot. I love making these videos and I think they're really helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you all in my next video. Bye.